Consciousness versus unconsciousness. Two different ways of being in life. And it's not that a person is conscious and that one's unconscious. There's a blend of both going on in multiple stages of a person's life, depending on what's happening in their life. How much stress are they in their life? How much responsibilities do they have in their life? And this topic of conversation that I'm going to be talking about is by no means meaning that one is better than the other, or that I have only experienced this and I'm trying to explain this from a foreign place. No, in fact, I'm going to describe unconsciousness from a very real place in which I have lived and am still living from time to time, okay? So it's not that there is just one or the other. There's a blend of both. And I'm going to give examples with this moving forward as to unconsciously operating through the world, or unconsciously versus consciously. Okay, so I would like to start with an example of grocery shopping for our food that we consume on a regular basis. Okay, so some of us, I'm not going to dive into what we should be eating or shouldn't be eating. I recognize that individuals, although spirit would like us to move in this direction of removal of meats from our diet, or meat-based products, I also recognize that there are individuals that have certain health conditions. Maybe they've had surgeries, and they may not be able to operate in life without eating meat-based products. So we're not going to be judging that. But what we are going to be talking about is when you're grocery shopping, and we are going to use some examples of being conscious and unconscious. Hope you're ready for this. So when you're grocery shopping, and say you need to get some bread, the more conscious observer, or the period of consciousness or level of awakeness, it depends on so many different things. It depends on, is a person curious to know about spiritual topics? Are they even interested? Are they asking questions? Is there something that happened to them in their life? Did they lose a loved one that, propelled them onto this path of awakening? There is so much that we could dive into as to why one is operating from a conscious state of mind versus an unconscious, and then the varying degrees of that through each person. But we're going to use examples of when grocery shopping you are choosing bread. Maybe more of the conscious observer will look at the date on the tag and say, okay, this bread was made at this date and it's good until this time. So they might pull out loaves of bread and dig in behind where the newer bread is, because the rotation of the older bread is put in the front in hopes that consumers will go ahead and purchase the older bread before they purchase the new bread, so that all the bread gets sold. So you go and you search in behind and you find, oh, you also squeeze the bread and the bread is soft. Okay, this is the bread for me because I want a fresh loaf. I can see on the date on the tag that this bread is going to last a long time. Now let's go from the vantage point of an unconscious observer. Okay, here's a loaf of bread. Yeah, that's the kind I like. Put it in the cart, go to the till. So there's the two different ways of being, okay, operating. Now let's look at meat. If we were to go from a conscious observer, the conscious observer would say, where does the meat come from? How are the animals treated? Do they use a lot of antibiotics and all sorts of who knows what with these animals? Or do they try to use less of that? And is this more of an organic product? Is this meat locally sourced, locally farmed? Or is this meat coming from a huge cattle farm where it's just yards and yards and yards and yards of them all penned up in small quarters? And that can be chickens or beef or cattle, I should say, or pigs. So a conscious observer would look at, how does the meat taste? Does it taste organic? Does it taste free range? Does it taste better? Does it look different? Does the color of the meat look different? And where is the meat sourced? And how are the animals treated? And I'm going to go to a local butcher where I know the meat is locally sourced. And I know that this meat is good for me to purchase because the animal is treated better and the product is hopefully more high vibrational. Therefore, maybe it's easier for me to enjoy the taste of it and also digest it. Okay? Especially people with digestive issues. They're looking for a product that is easier for them to digest. Okay, so let's look at an unconscious observer or perspective when sourcing meat. I need a family pack. Oh, look, it's on sale. Put it in the cart. Let's go to the till. So it's all about, I don't want to spend a lot of money. I need a family pack. I need a large amount. I don't really care what it looks like. It tastes good enough. And usually you would then locate these kinds of meats from Costco or Walmart. And you're not thinking about where that meat came from or how the animals are being treated. Or how is that meat being sourced? Okay? How is it being produced and sourced? So the third one I thought we would talk about is salmon. Okay, so if you're like, ew, meat, let's talk about something else. Let's go to salmon. Okay, so there's certain parts in the world where it's not easy to get salmon. It's not easy to get fish, period. But I'm sure there's some parts of the world where it's maybe not easy to get bread. I'm sure it's not easy to get meat. Now, in my part of the world, we have a choice. When I'm looking at salmon, we can look at farm salmon, or we can look at wild salmon. So when I am choosing my salmon, I'm only choosing wild salmon. And the reason why I'm only choosing wild salmon is because it's wild. It is able to roam free. It is not being penned up. It is, I feel better digesting it, and it also tastes better. Now, if I was more of the unconscious perspective, I would choose either one and I wouldn't really care and I wouldn't notice a difference. I'd be like, whatever. It's salmon. Salmon is salmon. I'm just going to buy it, eat it. I don't care where it came from. I don't care how it's taken care of. I don't care how it's sourced. Now, farmed salmon is kept in a pen on a floating little dock with a little house, and a person oversees the salmon in the pen. They can't get out. And what happens over time is they get little lice that attach all over their bodies. So it drains their energy. They don't end up being as big. When you source that salmon, you've got to get rid of the lice, because you can see it all over the salmon. And also what happens is the salmon that is free and wild is coming near these pens, and then they're getting the lice attached to them as well. It's difficult to stop that from happening if those salmon come nearby. Most of the salmon isn't going to be coming by those pens, but it's an offshoot issue. If salmon is coming by, they are getting these attached lice. They're not able to roam free. They're not able to, they're just stuck in this pen their whole lives until they're produced to eat. So I refuse to eat farm salmon. But I know that there are some countries where they just get what they get. They're probably not even told if it's farmed or otherwise. I know friends of mine who have visited the UK. You just get farm salmon. That's all there is. There's no choice. So I do know that I am very blessed and lucky to have those options. But I just want to bring us into more of a higher vibrational dimension by way of what we're putting in our bodies and how the other animals on Earth, other than ourselves, are being treated. So it's really important to think about where your food is being sourced and be the conscious observer as much as you can, especially when you're grocery shopping. It would be the same thing when we're choosing cleaning products. Is this cleaning product good for the environment when it goes down into the drain and into our sewer system, and then it has to be cleaned up? It's really important to use products and think about what we're eating and the products that we're using and consuming, and to become the conscious observers in our realities as we lift and raise in vibrational frequency into the higher dimensions. I hope this has helped, and this is what I see a small part of being unconscious versus conscious, and we're all in an ebb and flow, but we all get to do our part every single day in becoming more consciously aware and observing in our realities.